Hi, my name is Nick Hasso, and this is my perspective.
If you catch me at the border, I got visas in my name. If you come around here, I'll make them all day. I get one down in a second if you wait. I fly.
Hi, my name is Nick Hasso, and this is my perspective. My perspective is going to be a web series containing lessons and ideologies that I've developed over my years of experience and teaching within the activity. Today's perspective is mainly going to be based upon how to stand behind the bass drum and how to play the bass drum. First things first, stand behind the drum. We want to make sure our shoulders are square with the drum. Make sure we're not turned in any way, shape, or form. And we also want to make sure the distance standing away from the drum is about the length of your hooks depending on your drum manufacturer or carrier manufacturer. It's important to stand behind the drum correctly because that does affect pathways, the muscles you're using, and also the tonality of the drum you're going to get depending on where the mallet strikes the drum. For our set position, we bring the mallets directly to the rim. We also want to make sure that our I like to call antennas, or make sure our mallets are perfectly straight up and down off from the rim. We want to have our fulcrum set as if we are going to be playing, and the rim just sits right here in the nice little crevice inside of your hand. Now from our set position going into our playing position, nothing should have to change. All we need to do is make sure we bring the mallet straight down into the center of the head. All that means is we bring the forearms down. The angle on the wrist doesn't change, it stays exactly the same. And make sure as you come out, you don't tense the shoulders up or try and come out too fast where you go past center and back up. I see a lot of bass drummers do that, so make sure if you have that happening, you keep the shoulders relaxed, make sure it's nice and smooth straight out to the center of the head. Talking about grip, from my perspective, I like to use the front fulcrum with a mixture of the middle finger fulcrum. Reason being, I feel I get the most control and the best sound out of the drum that way. And then moving on to wrist angles, I like my wrist angle a little bit flatter than most. The way I tend to find that is I ask the player to put their hands down by their side and relax their shoulders and their wrists, and then purely just bring their wrist right up to the center of the drum. And when you do that, you want to make sure that your forearm is also flat as well. And then from there, talking about where the mallet lies within the palm, we want to make sure that our thumb dictates that angle. We want to make sure it's not pulled in too far, because if it is, you'll see the mallet angle is too steep right here. Yeah, and if we have it too far out, mallet angle gets really flat. So we want to make sure we find the nice middle ground. Typically it's right underneath the meaty portion of your thumb palm, or your thumb pad, sorry. And that gives us the right angle to give us the correct pathway coming out of the drum. Now we're going to talk about the two different types of strokes we use in bass drumming. For us, our gravity comes on the upstroke as comparison with the snare drums and tenor drums, where it tends to come down on the downstroke. So for us, the prep motion is always let out from the fulcrum. Yeah, we don't want to lead it from the mallet tip, because if you do, you're going to use too much arm in that prep motion. That'll give us a really weak and hollow sound. We also want to do too much wrist, because if we do too much wrist, that'll cause also another really weak sound for us. So the combination of the two is what works best. So we're going to lead the prep motion out from the fulcrum to get maximum wrist break, and then from there we'll incorporate a slight bit of forearm motion into that stroke to get us a full out vertical. Yeah, and then from there, going into the downstroke, we use the forearm and the back of the palm and the deltoid muscles to get us the velocity into the head that produces the best sound. To add on a little bit more to the downstroke, from my perspective, I like to use a stroke called the Marcato Stroke. And what that purely means is after we strike the head, we let the mallet rebound back out to make sure we get optimal sound out of the drum. So if I'll show you, I'll turn to the side here. A regular downstroke may look like this. Yeah, so you see there's not much movement after the mallet strikes the head. But from my perspective, I like to use the Marcato Stroke, which allows that mallet to rebound back out to make sure we get maximum velocity into the head. Yeah, and the reason why that mallet rebounds back out is because my hand is nice and relaxed and it doesn't limit any of that motion. From my perspective, there's many different ways to define heights. Everyone tends to use inches, but the variation of how they use that is what differs. I like to use 3 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, 9 inches, and 12 inches to get the definition for piano, mezzo piano, mezzo forte, forte, and double forte heights. Some people will use 4, 8, 12, 16, or other methods. But to define the heights, we use different muscle groups in the forearm to achieve those heights. So for 3 inches, I use mainly all wrist. 4 inches is a little bit more. 6 inches, a little bit higher. 9 inches, 12 inches. And when we finally get to 12 inches, we're incorporating the full forearm muscles and the back of the hand. That's when we use the deltoid on the downstroke. So for an example, 3 inches is mainly all wrist. Mainly from the set position. 4 inches, mezzo piano height. Slight prep motion from the set position. 6 inches. 9 inches. And full out 12 inches. I'm Nick Hasso, and this was my perspective.
I fly like paper, get high like planes. If you catch me at the border, I got visas in my name. If you come around here, I'll make 'em all